Hello students, welcome to your favorite channel English Learning Assam. Today I start the very important question answer for your upcoming HS final examination topic long question. মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকল আজি মই তোমালোকৰ আগত তোমালোকৰ অহা HS ফাইনেল এক্সামিনেশ্যনৰ প্ৰস্তুতি হকে লং কোশ্চিনসমূহ আলোচনা কৰিব বিচাৰিছোঁ। আশা কৰিম তোমালোকে এই লং কোশ্চিনখিনি চালে তোমালোকৰ পৰীক্ষাত 100% কমন পৰিব। মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকল এই লং কোশ্চিনসমূহ মই তোমালোকৰ আগত লৈছোঁ তোমালোকৰ ইংলিছ টেক্সট বুক ফ্লামিংগৰ পৰা। বলাচোন মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকল প্ৰথম লং কোশ্চিন লৈ যাওঁ। ডিসক্রাইব দ্য আনইউজুৱেল থিংছ দ্যাট ফ্ৰান্স নটিছড অন দ্য ডে অফ দ্য লাষ্ট লেসন। লাষ্ট লেসনৰ দিনা ফ্ৰান্সে লক্ষ্য কৰা অপৰিচিত বস্তুবোৰ কি আছিল? আনসার, ফ্রান্স noticed lots of unusual things on the day of the last lesson. লাষ্ট লেসনৰ দিনা বা শেষ অধ্যায়ৰ দিনা ফ্ৰান্সে বহুতো কি অপৰিচিত বস্তুক বা ইউজুৱেল থিংছক তেওঁ কি কৰিছিল? নটিছ কৰিছিল। ইউজুৱেলি হোয়েন স্কুল বিগান, সাধাৰণতে যেতিয়া স্কুল আৰম্ভ হৈছিল, দেয়াৰ ৱাজ এ গ্ৰেট নইজ হুইচ কুড বি হাৰ্ড আউট ইন দ্য ষ্ট্ৰীট। এই যেতিয়া স্কুলটো আৰম্ভ হৈছিল, আৰম্ভণিৰ সময়ত বহুতো শব্দ হৈছিল আৰু সেই শব্দখিনি আমি ৰাস্তাৰ পৰা শুনা গৈছিল। দ্য নইজ ৱাজ প্ৰডিউচড by the opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated loudly in unison, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. সাধাৰণতে কি হৈছিল? সেই নইজটো কি প্ৰডাক্ট হৈছিল বা সৃষ্টি হৈছিল কি এনেকৈ ল'ৰা ছোৱালীৰ কি অপেনিং এণ্ড ক্লজিং অফ ডেস্কটো খোলা আৰু বন্ধ কৰা সেইটো, তাৰপিছত একেলগে জোৰে জোৰে লেসন পঢ়াৰ শব্দটো আৰু কি টিচাৰে তেওঁৰ গ্ৰেট সেই ডাঙৰ ৰোলাৰ দি কি কৰিছিল? টেবুলৰ ওপৰত যে মাৰিছিল, ৰেপিং কৰিছিল তাৰ শব্দ ৰাস্তাৰ পৰা সাধাৰণতে যেতিয়া স্কুল আৰম্ভ হৈছিল সেইখিনি শুনা গৈছিল। ডেট ডে এভৰিথিং ৱাজ এজ কোৱাইট এজ ছানডে মৰ্ণিং। বাট সেইদিনা সকলোখিনি ছানডে মৰ্ণিঙত নিচিনা যেনেকৈ নিস্তব্ধতা থাকে ঠিক তেনেকুৱা আছিল। এম হেমেল ৱাজ ৱাকিং উইথ হিজ আইৰণ ৰোলাৰ আণ্ডাৰ হিজ আৰ্ম। এম হেমেলে তেওঁৰ সেই লোহাৰ আইৰণ ৰোলাৰটো তেওঁৰ আৰ্মত লৈ সেইদিনা কি কৰিছিল? খোজকাঢ়িছিল। ফ্ৰান্স ৱাজ ফ্ৰাইটেণ্ড বাট ডিড নট ফাৰ্নিছ হিম। ফ্ৰান্সে ভয় খাইছিল। কিয় ভয় খাইছিল? তেওঁ যে যাওঁতে দেৰি হৈছিল, কিন্তু তেওঁ সেইদিনা কি শাস্তি দিয়া হোৱা নাছিল। ফ্ৰান্স noticed that he put on fine embroidered cloth that he wore on the inspection and prize days. ফ্ৰান্সে লক্ষ্য কৰিছিল যে এম হেমেলে সিদিনা তেওঁৰ সেই এম্ব্ৰইডাৰী কৰা সুন্দৰ কাপোৰ পিন্ধিছিল, যিখিনি তেওঁ সাধাৰণতে পৰিদৰ্শনৰ দিনা বা ইনস্পেকশ্যনৰ দিন আৰু প্ৰাইজ ডিষ্ট্ৰিবিউশ্যনৰ দিনা পিন্ধে। সেই ড্ৰেছটো এম হেমেলে সিদিনা পিন্ধা তেওঁ লক্ষ্য কৰিছিল। He also noticed that the village elders were sitting on the back benches as quietly as the students. আৰু তেওঁ লক্ষ্য কৰিছিল যে সেই গাঁৱৰ বয়সীয়াল মানুহখিনিয়ে একেবাৰে বেঞ্চৰ শেষৰ শাৰীত পৰিছিল, যেনেকুৱা শান্তভাৱে ল'ৰা ছোৱালী ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীবোৰে বহি থাকে ঠিক তেনেকৈ সিহঁতেও বহি আছিল। আফটাৰ অল এম হেমেল ৱাজ ট্ৰান্সফৰ্মড পাৰ্চন অন দ্য ডে অফ দ্য লাষ্ট লেসন। মুঠতে সেইদিনা কি এম হেমেলে অলপ বেলেগ দিনতকৈ বেলেগ ধৰণৰ মানুহ আছিল, ট্ৰান্সফৰ্মড পাৰ্চন আছিল, পৰিৱৰ্তিত মানুহ আছিল। হি এক্সপ্লেইনড এভৰিথিং উইথ এ গ্ৰেট পেশ্যন এণ্ড এভৰিবডি পেইড ৰাপ্ট এটেনশ্যন টু হিম। তেওঁ গোটেইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁ খুব ধুনীয়াকৈ গ্ৰেট ডাঙৰকৈ ধুনীয়াকৈ মহানতাৰ সৈতে তেওঁ কিছিল বুজাই দিছিল, ব্যাখ্যা কৰিছিল আৰু সকলোৱে খুব গভীৰ মনোযোগ তেওঁৰ প্ৰতি দিছিল। চ' দিছ ইজ দ্য আনচাৰ। আশা কৰিম তোমালোকে আনচাৰটো বুজি পাইছে। নেক্সট come to another important question. Describe the miserable plight of the people of Firzabad. Very, very important question for your upcoming examination. Answer. The bangle maker of Firzabad lead a miserable life. Every family in Firzabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry. It employs about 20,000 children who work in the glass furnaces with high temperature indignity cells without air and light. Nobody cares for the law of Firzabad. They live in the dark hutments beside the stinking lands soaked with garbage. Their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than the light outside. That is why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. Years of mind numbing toil have killed all initiative and the ability to dream. They are victims of poverty and exploitation. They have fallen into vicious circle of the shahukars, the middlemen, the keepers of laws, and the bureaucrats and the politicians. So, ekine asle ei questioner answer. Now come to next question. Describe the character of Sophie's father and the role played by him in the story going places. Very, very important question. যে কি কৈছে সফিৰ দেউতাকৰ চৰিত্ৰটো বৰ্ণনা কৰা আৰু গোয়িং প্লেচেছ ষ্টৰীত গল্পত তেওঁৰ ভূমিকা উল্লেখ কৰা। কেনেধৰণৰ ভূমিকা তেওঁ পালন কৰিছে সেইখিনি বা মূল্যায়ন কৰা। আনসার. Sophie's father was a man of authority, truth, hardworking, deep senses. He was a typical representation of lower middle class family. He had to work hard for keeping his family alive. The day's hard work clearly visible on his plump face. He had realistic approach towards life. He had passion for sports. He was an old admirer of Tom Finney, a great footballer. He had a weekly pilgrimage with his children to watch United and Danny Casey in action. He adored Casey like all his children. After the victory, he went to the pub for celebration. He did not seem to be very sympathetic towards his daughter Sophie. When Sophie told him that Danik was buying a shop, he looked at her with disdain. He did not approve Sophie's wild stories for Danny Casey. He aggressively told her that one day she would have to suffer a lot for her fantasy. He had also some drawbacks in his character. He lacked refined manner or sophistication. Though he was an aggressive, yet he was a true and rightful person. So it was a question or answer. Question next. Draw a character sketch of M. Hamel as it is shown in the last lesson. Last lesson দেখোৱা ধৰণে M. Hamelৰ এটি চরিত্র মূল্যায়ন করা বা অঙ্কন করা। আনসার, মনচিউর হ্যামেল। এম হ্যামেলর কি আছিল? ফুল নেম আছিল মনচিউর হ্যামেল was a devoted French teacher, teaching in a school at Alsace for 40 years. He became a part its family. He was a strict disciplinarian and an honest teacher. Though he was cranky, he was a transformed person just after the order come from Berlin that French would not be taught any longer in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. He was now a gentle and grave. He did not blame his students and their parents alone for poor learning. He also held himself responsible for the same. He was very patriotic as he appeared to his countrymen who told first to their mother tongue to be free from the Prussians. He was emotionally attached to the school and all students. He was really sorry for not making sincere efforts to teach French to his countrymen. At the end, he was so emotional that he could not speak. Next, give a detailed account of the scene in the classroom on the day of the last lesson. Dekha. Answer. The scene in the classroom on the day of the last lesson was Solomon serious and quite unusual. There was no noise as usual. Everything was as quiet as Sunday morning. M. Hamel, the French teacher, was walking with his iron ruler under his arms, putting on his special dresses. He did not furnish little Franz, though he was late in the class. M. Hamel announced that that was the last French lesson because an order had come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The old villagers came to respect their master for his 40 years of faithful service. That day, he explained everything with a great passion. Everybody paid rapt attention to him. Old Hauser was crying in emotion. Finally, Hamel stood up in his chair to speak something, but he could not go on. He wrote on the blackboard as large as he could, Vive France, and the class was dismissed. Next, describe the bangle makers of Firzabad. How does vicious circle of the Shahukars, the middlemen, allow them to come out of their poverty? Answer. The bangle maker of Firzabad had a miserable life. Every family in Firzabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass glowing industry. It employs about 20,000 children who work in the glass furnace with high temperature in dingy cells without air and light. Nobody cares for the law in Firzabad. They live in a dark hutments beside the stinking lanes soaked with garbage. Their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than the light outside. That is why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. They have fallen into vicious circle of shahukars, the middlemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats, and the politicians. If they get organized, they will be hauled up by the police, beaten, and dragged to jail for doing something illegal. There is no leader among them who can help them see things differently. Last question. Write briefly on the hazards of working in the glass bangles industry. The bangles makers of Firoozabad lead a miserable life. Every family in Firoozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass glowing industry. It employs about 20,000 children who work in the glass furnaces with high temperatures in Digni, Dingi, cell without air and light. Nobody cares for the law in Firoozabad. They live in the dark hutments beside the stinking lands soaked with garbage. Their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than the light outside. That is why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. Years of mind numbing toil have killed all initiative and the ability to dream. They are victims of poverty and exploitation. They have fallen into vicious circles of the shahukar, the middleman, the keeper of law, the bureaucrats, and the politicians. So, my dear students, এইখিনি আছিলে আজিৰ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট লং কুৱেশ্যনখিনি। আশা কৰিম এই 7টা ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট লং কুৱেশ্যনে তোমালোকক অহা পৰীক্ষাত সহায় কৰিব। থেংক ইউ ফৰ ৱাচিং।